We take it is great honour for our party today to announce what I consider to be an excellent candidate. Chased him for 2 years, and Dan McCarthy as our candidate for Leichhardt. On the figures from the last election, we have just as good a chance of winning a seat as the Liberals or Labor, but we've got a much better candidate than either of those parties. So over to Dan, it's his moment.
Ladies and gentlemen, as of today, we have a real opportunity here in Leichhardt to get a voice that will represent the North in Canberra. I think people in North Queensland have well and truly had a gutful of the status quo, and we need to have somebody that will stand up for the rights and the issues here in North Queensland that we face, instead of having to have our issues always put on the back seat to please the green minorities in the southeast corner and the major capital cities. Now, both major political parties are well and truly versed at bowing to those minority groups, but I'm proudly being endorsed here by the KAP, and I hope to be able to represent North Queensland at a far better level than we have had in many, many years.
What are some of those issues?
Well, there's a number of different issues here that have been on the back burner. One of the key burning issues is the traffic congestion on the northern side of town. It's quite clear we need some leadership and we need some action. Obviously, we need some government money spent on some overpasses around the Smithfield area to relieve that congestion. We've got it on the southern side of town, and Bob Carter's got several of them in his electorate, and we've got absolutely nothing here in Leichhardt as usual. Obviously, our youth crime issue is a huge issue here in North Queensland, and it's all good and well for the federal members to say that it's a state issue. Well, that's just not good enough. It's obviously a burning issue that it's affecting many people here in North Queensland, so it's only proper that we have federal intervention there to try and deal with that, whether it's federal funding or whatever. But relocation sentencing is obviously a huge step in the right direction to deal with that issue. Obviously, we have the crocodiles. We have crocodiles that are out of control, and we have both sides of politics, both the Liberal Party and the Labor Party are quite happy to give crocodiles and flying foxes and animals like that far greater rights than our humans. And as far as we're concerned, the KAP, human rights and human access to the lifestyle that we live here in North Queensland should be dealt with a much higher priority than the feelings of crocodiles. Our ports issue here is another major issue. We have both sides of politics bowing to the green minority. Our ports project, a dredging project that the state parliament has just recently passed. We're still waiting for federal approval on that. That was downgraded at the behest of the Greens in the southern capitals. It's now been downgraded to 1/4 of its original proposal on the grounds that it would somehow or other hurt the Great Barrier Reef. Well, if that's the case, why has Townsville had 11 million cubic metres just approved out of their channel? So 1 million cubic metres in Cairns is borderline affecting the Great Barrier Reef, but in Townsville 11 million cubic metres is quite acceptable. It's just hypocrisy. But once again, it goes into the agenda that both major political parties are hell-bent on appeasing the Greens in the southern capital cities. Well, with the KAP, we will stand up for North Queensland. Every issue will be looked through the lens of what is in the best interest of North Queensland, and we obviously need some fresh leadership in town, and that's what I hope to be able to provide.
Obviously, Warren Entsch's been the incumbent MP for a very long time. Do you think we're going to have a bit of a fight to kind of sort of see?
Well, at this stage, I'm not even aware if Warren Entsch has even been pre-selected. Anyway, that's a problem for the Liberal Party. We'll be running our race. We are providing a strong alternative for people in North Queensland. If you really want the issues we face here in North Queensland to be front and centre on the agenda in Parliament on a daily basis, that you've only got one option. At the end of the day, Warren Entsch has had 20 odd years in Parliament, nothing's changed. If anything, things have gotten worse. We've got an insurance crisis here in North Queensland. We have an insurance crisis here in North Queensland. People in regional Australia pay excessive insurance prices. Nothing has changed. That issue's raised constantly, nothing's changed. But at the same time, we have the Liberal Party is quite happy to accept over $1.5 million in donations from the insurance companies over the last decade. So I'm wondering if that has got any bearing on why the issue hasn't been resolved.
You've had an unsuccessful tilt in the past few years. What are you going to do differently this time?
I wouldn't say it was unsuccessful, I'd just say it was a warm-up. And in hindsight, I probably should have jumped in with Bob and the KEP back then. So Because, you know, when you look across the political spectrum, people are saying, well, okay, well, why did you pick KAP? Well, when you look across the political spectrum, when I compare my personal values, family values that I adhere to, and when you, on top of that, overlay who's putting North Queensland on the priority list, the only option is KAP.
A couple of months ago, Pauline Hanson had some nice things to say about you to the Cairns Post.
Oh, that's
sniffing around as well.
That's very nice of her. Well, there's always a lot of different options on the table, but what we need to realise is that if you are going to be a successful member, particularly in a remote area like North Queensland, we need to be able to deal with all people in the crossbench. It's just a fact of life. There's always a Senate crossbench, and you need to be able to deal with that Senate crossbench to get good things through, and also to be able to block stupid legislation. You know, we're all on a daily basis, we live the results of unintended consequences of legislation that's been pushed through from both major political parties, and we need to have better representation, further representation, so we can block those stupid decisions and also push some of our good initiatives forward, because there's a lot of talent here in North Queensland, a huge amount of talent, and often those things are stifled because the major political parties, quite frankly, haven't got the guts to pull their pants up and get on with the job.
I just want to show brought them along today to show you. This is the major document from the Australian budget, and it's all the major spending items for Australia. And you'll notice they start here, just below Rockhampton, and they go right around Australia. But North Queensland, 5% of Australia's population, we should have 1 in 20 of those dots. Well, we got absolutely nothing. And it was less than nothing because the 200 million for First Australian housing has been cancelled for North Queensland, which is almost entirely in the electorate of Leichhardt. All of that money would have been spent in the electorate of Leichhardt. There are 400 jobs, I would estimate, in the house building program here in Cairns, quite apart from in the communities themselves in the Cape. So Mr. Ench has failed completely. I'm not here to criticise him, but he is the Liberal Member of Parliament for this area. The Northern Territory, their members secured a continuation of the program for the Northern Territory. He has failed totally to secure continuation of the program for his area, and particularly for some 400 jobs, I would estimate, that are going to vanish here now in Cairns. The second map I wish to show you is the headlines in the Courier Mail last week, saying $2 billion for another pleasure dome in Brisbane. That will bring to $7 billion the pleasure domes on the South Bank, and it will bring, because of their tunnel they're building, to $29 billion the tunnels in Brisbane. Now, Brisbane's got a population of 1.3 million. We've got a population of just under 1 million. So where are our tunnels? Where are our pleasure domes? But it's not stopping. As we talk, there is another $7.5 billion being spent on tunnels in Brisbane. And let the last word lie with the great economist. He said, the Queensland government has vision. We must admit that. The vision they have is tunnel vision.